Hey, hi everybody. It's Andy from SDRPlay again. Good to see you all at the Ham Radio International Club. Thanks to Andy for the invite. It's always great to come and speak to you guys. And so what I'm going to do this evening is I'm going to show you a couple of videos that we've got about SDR Connect. And then they're only 5 minutes long. And then when we come back, we'll have a conversation about what it is, why we're doing it, and when you can get your hands on it.
Today, we're bringing you an update on progress on our next generation software from SDRPlay. We would like to introduce SDR Connect, which is in fact a complete rewrite of SDR Uno, and today we're going to demonstrate for you the underlying core DSP technology behind it. A complete rewrite of SDR Uno was needed to achieve our goal of multi-platform capability, so much so that we decided that the new software would have a new name. It will now be known as SDR Connect. But don't worry, if you prefer the older version of SDR Uno, we will continue to support the later versions for the foreseeable future. As I say, it will be cross-platform and will run on x86, ARM, macOS, Linux, Windows and Android platforms. In addition, we are adding new remote server and client capability, which will also work cross-platforms. This will allow you to access your RSP from anywhere, either on your home LAN or across the internet. The GUI is being completely rewritten to make it much more consistent than SDR Uno and much more intuitive and easy to use. It will include the much requested feature of the ability to lock panels together. SDR Connect will retain compatibility with all the current RSP family, that's the RSP1A, the RSP-DX and the RSP Duo. As well, it will continue to be compatible with the RSP2 and RSP2 Pro, which have now been discontinued. However, due to hardware limitations, it is not possible to support the RSP1 in SDR Connect. However, the later versions of SDR Uno will continue to be supported for the foreseeable future for people that own and still use the RSP1 original model. In today's demo, we're looking at the core underlying technology behind SDR Connect. The DSP engine has been totally rewritten to make it cross-platform, and indeed we'll be demonstrating it running on macOS. In addition, we'll be showing network capability across the internet. I must stress that this demonstration is just the core technology. The new graphical user interface, which will retain the style and popular features of SDR Uno, along with a much more improved, consistent and easy to use interface, is still under development. So today's demonstration is truly global. We are running the SDR Connect client native on macOS here in Dayton, Ohio, and we are connecting to an SDR Connect server with an RSP-DX located back in the UK. For the demo, we're using an M1 Mac Mini, i.e. the ARM architecture, using macOS Monterey. Now let's start up the SDR Connect demo. Here we see the main RF spectrum and waterfall displays. In the upper half of the screen we have the main spectrum, and in the lower half of the screen we have the expanded auxiliary spectrum. If you've used SDR Uno, you will notice the appearance is very similar to what you're already used to. As we tune into this particular frequency, you will see in the auxiliary spectrum that we have a symmetrical passband around the VFO frequency. Of course, at 40 meters, what we really want to see is lower sideband. So we can click to go from AM to upper sideband to lower sideband.
Started running 10 watts on AM. All the best there, you got a big pilot. Cheers and beers.
Oh, cheers Barry, and hey, enjoy that radio. Hey Barry, we'll catch you again, all the best. G3 TPP from Kevin, M0 Kilo Victor Kilo. Cheers and beers, Barry.
Cheers, all the best.
You'll have to forgive my indulgence here, but while we're looking at the demo, I'd like to go down and look at Longwave. Radio 4 on 198 kilohertz was always a favourite station, and here we see tuning into it on John's RSP back in the UK. So once again, with Radio 4 playing in the background, I would like to emphasize that we are just showing the core DSP functionality of SDR Connect. And now that this has been completed, which was the major task for a true multi-platform solution, our software team is now working on wrapping up the GUI to go around it and reintroduce some of the other features that you are familiar with and desire to have in this exciting new piece of software. So to recap, what we've shown right here is the core DSP engine of SDR Connect running on a Mac. In addition, we've also demonstrated networking capabilities by being connected to a remote RSP located in the UK. So the big question is, when can you get hold of SDR Connect? Well, we're on track for a release by the end of this year, and we're rushing to get it out to you as soon as possible. I'm sure you're going to be as excited to get your hands on it as we are in developing it. To get continuous news updates, they can be found at our website, www.sdrplay.com.
So that was a video that that Steve did for Dayton back in May, and the next video is going to cover some of the same ideas, but the key thing about John's video is that he's running his on a Raspberry Pi.
Right. It's on progress towards our next generation of software from SDRPlay. We're introducing SDR Connect, which is in fact a complete rewrite of SDR Uno. And here we're demonstrating for you the underlying core DSP technology behind it. A complete rewrite of SDR Uno was needed to achieve our goal of multi-platform capability. So much so that we decided that the new software would have to have a new name. It will now be known as SDR Connect. Don't worry if you prefer the older version of SDR Uno, because we'll continue to support the later versions for the foreseeable future. As I say, it'll be cross-platform, and it will run on x86, ARM, Mac OS, Linux, Windows and Android. In addition, we are adding new remote server and client capability, which will also work cross-platform. And this will allow you to access your RSP from anywhere, either on your home LAN or across the internet. The GUI is being completely rewritten to make it much more consistent than SDR Uno and much more intuitive and easy to use. It will include the much requested feature of the ability to lock panels together. SDR Connect is compatible with all the current RSPs, the 1A, the DX and the Duo. As well, it will continue to be compatible with the RSP2 and the RSP2 Pro, which have now been discontinued. However, due to hardware limitations, it is not possible to support the RSP1 in SDR Connect. In today's demo, we're looking at the core underlying technology behind SDR Connect. The DSP engine has been totally rewritten to make it cross-platform, and indeed we'll be demonstrating it running under Linux on a Raspberry Pi. In addition, we'll be showing network capability across the internet. I must stress that this demonstration is just of the core technology. The new graphical user interface, which will retain the style and popular features of SDR Uno, along with this much more improved, consistent and easy to use interface, is still under development. So today's demonstration is truly global. We are running the SDR Connect client native on Linux here in Friedrichshafen, and we're connecting to an SDR Connect server with an RSPDX located back in the UK. Here we see the main spectrum and waterfall displays. In the upper half of the screen we see the main spectrum, and in the lower half of the screen we see the auxiliary spectrum. As well as the familiar controls for tuning, there'll be additional capabilities. You'll be able to right mouse click to toggle between full AM, upper sideband, lower sideband and CW for popular filter settings. Here we are on 40 meters, so we want to be on lower sideband.
DQ40, Mike Queen 0, Oscar X-ray Fox, DQ40, Mike Queen 0, Oscar X-ray Fox 200. What we would call you? Yes, your signal.
You could 585 and 9 at present, as you rightly said before, that the band is all over the place sometimes, over.
Okay, yes, it is afternoon. Yes, nice to hear you again, Dave.
This signal is 5920 dB into Orkney Islands as an AIM.
Yes. And we've had many contacts with you previously on 60, 40 and 80 metres. So nice to go coming in there from Lockerbie this afternoon.
It's a pretty lengthy process.
Now let's take a look at Longwave. Radio 4 on 198 kilohertz is a unique station in the UK, and here we are tuning into it. Once again, I'd like to emphasize, we're just showing the core DSP functionality of SDR Connect. Getting this thing completed has been a great achievement towards our goal of a true multi-platform solution. The software team is now working on wrapping up the GUI to go around it and to reintroduce some of the other features that you're familiar with and desire to have in this exciting new piece of software.
The work that I've done is cricket commentary for a console game. The leech is in, pull it straighter, bundle forward, defend, and there's no run, end of the over.
So to recap, right here is the core DSP engine of SDR Connect running on a Raspberry Pi. In addition, we've also demonstrated networking capabilities by being connected to a remote RSP located in the UK. So the big question is, when can you get hold of SDR Connect? Well, we're on track for release by the end of 2022. For ongoing news and updates, go to www.sdrplay.com.
So apologies, there was a lot of duplicate information in there, but the purpose of doing that was to show that we do have the software running on multiple platforms, Windows, Linux, Mac, and it was just to show that it exists and that it is being developed. What both Steve and John were talking about there at the end is the user interface. Now, the user interface is probably the most crucial part of the application, and I've got an up-to-date screenshot of what we're using internally. Let's see if I can bring that up there. I don't know. Can you see all that? Can you see that? So
yes, we do.
Those of you that use SDR Uno will remember that there are multiple VRXs, virtual receivers. And the way that that's supported in SDR Uno is that you have a separate, what we call an SP1 display, which is the main input spectrum display. You have an SP1 and an SP2 display for each virtual receiver and a set of controls. And you end up eating into real estate pretty quickly once you start getting into multiple VRXs. So what we focused on in SDR Connect is we still will support virtual receivers in a similar way, but there will only be one input spectrum display. It doesn't make sense to duplicate that real estate, to eat into that real estate. So there'll be one SP1 display and then you'll have multiple SP2 displays as before. What we don't really show here in the videos, which over the next few weeks, I'll try and get a video together, is some of the some of the flexibility that we have inside SDR Connect. These two panels are, you can move them any way you like. You can have SP2 at the top, SP1 at the bottom, on the side, different monitors. Just as in SDR Uno, you can have them anywhere on your display that you want. You can still do that in SDR Connect. So the only difference is that in SDR Connect, as the guys were saying in the video, they all can be locked together. So you can move them in with a single click rather than having to move each panel individually. What we've got at the top there, this is not necessarily the representative of what it's going to look like, but what we've been doing with the user interface is we're very focused on touch displays. So what we're making sure that every control that we add in works on not only with PCs and mice and keyboards and all the rest of it, but also with touch displays. It's been an important part of the UI development. And what you'll see is there'll be things like context sensitive menus that appear. We want it to be totally intuitive. At the moment with SDR Uno, you just get given everything. It's all the information there all at once, whether you need it. You know, if you're never using FM, you still see all the different FM modes that the receiver can do. With SDR Connect, it'll be much more intuitive. You'll only see the information on the screen that is relevant to what you're doing. So it will present itself for a much cleaner display, a much easier to navigate display, and in the coming weeks we'll try and get some videos or maybe some more Zoom calls to explain how that's developing. We're only a small, we've got a very limited resource that we're doing all this stuff. And also SDR Uno, I should say that SDR Uno 1.42 is coming, and what we're doing there is we're going to be releasing that in a slightly different way to how we've done it before. So the way we've done SDR Uno releases before is that we've sort of just kept adding and adding and adding and adding features until it sits on the shelf until it's, well, it doesn't sit on it sits on the shelf and gets tested internally until it's all done, and then it gets a final release at the end. With 1.42, we're doing things differently. So we're going to be doing a release of 1.42. It probably will come out sometime this week with the functionality that we've got in it so far. And then in the coming weeks, we will continue to do 1.42 releases with the additional functionality, and we'll produce a kind of a mini roadmap of what the 1.42 development is looking like and when you're going to get each of those developments. What we've been focused on at the moment is the scanner, and in particular the memory panel scanner. So the memory panel scanner is about 2.5 times faster than what it was before. And we're doing some things like we've got some a different way of doing the thresholds. So anybody that uses the scanner, I can kind of go into more detail about that if anyone's interested. Yeah, so and 1.4 what's important to know about 1.42 is that when it's finished, when the final release of that is done, that will be it as far as SDR Uno features go. We will still be supporting bug fixes in SDR Uno, but our real primary focus is obviously got to be SDR Connect. SDR Connect is going to be, we've had to drop support for the RSP1. We will have to drop support for things like Windows XP. It's got to be the best optimized bit of software cross-platform that we can do, and to continue to support legacy hardware and legacy operating systems just restricts what we can do. Given our resource, limited resource, we've decided that effectively what we'll do is we're parking SDR Uno 1.42 for those people who still want to use Windows XP and still want to use the RSP1. It will still be there and work. But for those with other RSPs and other operating systems, SDR Connect will be the way to go. We've got both USB direct connect to the RSP in SDR Connect. We've got remote, so you can access your RSP anywhere in the world. And we've got some great technology that's going into all of that. So yeah, so that's kind of where we're at with everything. And yeah, as the guys have said in the video, we're looking to get the first iteration of SDR Connect out by the end of the year. I think what you'll see with SDR Connect is, again, a different release methodology. We won't be doing the big sort of monolithic updates that we've done in SDR Uno, you know, once, twice a year. You'll see a much more frequent set of smaller updates with SDR Connect as we get things like the plugin system and you know, the scanner and all that other stuff all added in. And when we get nearer the time, we'll be able to put out a bit of a roadmap as to when you can expect to see these features. So we're slightly, we've kind of got to focus on getting SDR Uno 1.42 done, because it's a big commitment that we've made to the community. So that's got to get done. But SDR Connect is being developed right now, and will continue until it's released.
Andy, there's some questions in the chat. Can I just ask, can we cover them now?
Yeah, sure.
So we've got so far. So the first one is by David, M0OSA. Will SDR Connect allow non-symmetrical filters?
Well, SDR Uno does at the moment, right? In the SP2 display, you've got the bars where you can drag the filters around. So SDR Connect will have the same feature. Mm-hmm. In a lot of the there's a lot of good stuff inside SDR Uno. We haven't sort of thrown it away and started again. We've taken all of the best bits out of Uno and we've moved that forward. And it's audio processing, some of it's filtering, which was sort of recognized when we acquired it those years ago as being top notch. So that's, you know, all of that work, all of that code is being moved across. So, you know, you'll still get the same audio performance and the filtering. We're also going to be doing a lot more customizations. So you'll be able to customize things like what the band buttons do and the filter. And in fact, in SDR Uno 1.42, we're doing customizations of the band buttons and the filter buttons. So you can have a panel of your own band buttons and decide what bands you want to cover, how wide you want them to be, and what the center frequency is. So yeah, so I think it's also fair to say that because of its age, SDR Uno doesn't support things like graphic scaling very well. It doesn't support font sizes and all that kind of stuff. Whereas SDR Connect will support all of that out of the gate. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. So, do you need any testers? Is it all covered?
Yeah. So after the first Dayton video, we were sort of inundated with emails from people saying they want to get their hands on it, and we totally understand that people want to get their hands on it. As you can see at the moment, there's apart from it being running on all the different platforms, there isn't a whole lot there. So as we get nearer the time, I don't think we're going to be doing a kind of a well, I don't know kind of what we're going to be doing in terms of the beta testing right now. Like I say, we have had sort of inundated with offers, and the problem with being inundated with offers is that when you select certain people, other people get upset and they feel that they have better skills or better equipment or better resources to do it. So what we'll probably do is just a kind of a we'll get to a certain point and then we'll say, if you want to use it, it's there. If it crashes, it crashes, and you bring it back to us and we'll fix it. So it probably won't be a specific sort of a beta test, as it were. But we'll just get it to where we can get it to, and then we'll just get it out there. We're just focused on getting it out to people.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a different beast for us because of its cross-platform. You know, we kind of got the Dayton demo working on the Mac, and then we said, hey, you know, it'd be great to show the Raspberry Pi version, and there were some issues, so we kind of had to. So it's all I can tell you at the moment is that we are. As we go, we're making sure that all the platforms are supported. We're not just kind of developing on one platform and then hurriedly getting the other platforms working at the end. You know, it's not like that at all. We're continuously making sure, and we've got people internally that have got different platforms. Steve's a big Mac guy. We've got, you know, Mike's got different platforms, Raspberry Pis. John has as well. And there's one or two others. We've all got the different platforms, and so we all are going to be bringing up the software on all the platforms at the same time. You know, Mac M1, but we've got Mac Linux, Mac Intel as well to still support. Android's going to be an interesting. We've got some great ideas on how to present the software on Android. Yeah, so it's just a great it's just a great time to be able to bring it. You know, this cross-platform thing has been promised for a long time. We were let down by some promises that were made to us on the compiler side, which was unfortunate. So that's had a bit of a setback, but we've got a different direction now. And the key thing was to getting a really good optimized DSP core, and we've really got that. So we're really happy with a great basis on which to kind of now build the UI and then start adding all the other stuff like, you know, scanning and the plugin system and stuff like that.
Cool. Okay, next question. We've got a few now. Frank, HP9 FXQ. Is the audio compressed using any kind of codec, or is the DMOD audio raw format?
You mean on if Frank, you're talking about when you're doing the remotes? Is he talking about the remote side of things?
Yes, I'm asking more about decoding, like digital modes like FT8 and stuff. Will the audio be compressed and delayed? So how does the latency look like?
Oh, I see. Well, you're still getting IQ at the client end. So you just process the IQ as before. There's no audio stream.
All right, sorry, I think we have very high latency currently in this video stream. Okay, so no delay due to codecs or anything like that.
No.
Okay, cool. No. Thanks.
No. Yeah, and obviously, as we get nearer the time, I can probably give you some more details about that and how the plugin system works and stuff like that.
Okay. Next one. Hopefully, Roger Need has put, hopefully you'll support Windows 7, 8 and 10 in SDR Connect.
Yeah, so Windows 7 and above.
7 and above. Cool.
Yeah, it's just proven too difficult to support XP and Vista. Some of the functions that we're using just aren't there, and it's we just don't have the resource to continually to support those systems. So it's unfortunate, but like I say, SDR Uno will still be there.
Okie dokie. At all. And Lutz has put that you're going to be supporting, so SDR Connect will support macOS Catalina.
Now, how far back of a macOS version, I don't know. I have, what do I have here? I probably have Catalina somewhere. I know that all the testing so far has been done on Monterey, on both Mac Intel and Mac M1. I probably have something older, so that we will have to work out precisely how far back in the Mac OS release we can go.
Okie doke. And I'm just looking 1 second and see what's the next one. Oh, hold on, I'm going the wrong way, that's why. Right. Will there be firmware updates as you're going along? Will the new features of SDR Connect need firmware updates to work?
No, the SDR Connect will work with the current hardware. So it'll work with the current RSP1A, RSP-DX, RSP Duo, RSP2, RSP2 Pro. It just won't work with the RSP1. That's all.
Okay. Right. Will there be any external I/O or RTL SDR support?
Will there be any EXTIO support for SDR Connect is an RSP only product. It's not a sort of a generic front end for any hardware. So it won't support EXTIO plugins. It is literally a bespoke application for RSPs. If you want generic software that works with other SDRs, there's plenty of available. But SDR Connect is an RSP only product.
Yep. Okie dokie.
It's a bit like SDR Uno. When you compare what SDR Uno does to what some of the other generic applications do, the biggest problem we had was with the Duo. The Duo gives you two streams.
Yes. And
there aren't really generic applications that can deal with that. And so SDR Uno has become, it had to be very RSP specific to give you the best RSP experience. It was designed so that, you weren't restricted by what other libraries or applications could do. And quite rightly, some of the applications are some of the generic applications are developed have to be developed in a generic way to support lots of different bits of hardware. But and so that's great, and we have and so there are things like the SOAPy SDR framework. Franco and Frank do a fantastic job of supporting the SOAPy SDR framework and the GNU radio framework with the RSPs. They do an amazing job there for applications like Cubic SDR and others, SDR++, and in fact SDR++ has probably got native support now. But when people code up for the RSP, there are things you've got to do slightly differently, and so SDR Uno is essentially the gold standard. If you can do it with SDR Uno, you can do it with the API. It just means that the end application may not have support for it. So so SDR Uno is an RSP only application. Well, it does. The old EXTIO version of it does work with other, but the core SDR Uno applications RSP only, and SDR Connect will be RSP only.
Right, Andy, I'm gonna stop sharing your screen because some of the others are having a problem with latency. So
sure.
And that recommendation come from John M0VR.
Okay.
There you go. So you're still on the spot.
I think if I do this, that may help. I don't know if that's helped.
Wow. Yeah, I think Andy, you're still running on hubs, right? On OBS.
You're running on OBS.
Hang on. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're running on OBS, there's sometimes latency. You have to remove it for some reason. Because sometimes you can hear the audio from.
Well, I don't need to.
directly.
Okay, I was going to start. Yeah, I can't.
Yeah.
Can I? Can I switch the video halfway through?
Probably.
Does that work?
We can see your name, not your face.
Hang on. What if I do? There you go.
Yeah.
Can you hear me still? Hello?
Yes.
Okay.
Better.
So now OBS is closed.
Right. Okay. I'm just looking. Any more questions? From one here. Except from the convenience, would the experience match using VNC server client, or do you have a special way to stream the data? Would you consider open source for the old software?
Would we consider? Hang on, I think that's probably two questions.
Two questions by the
so what was the first bit?
Except for the convenience, would the experience match using VNC server stroke client, or do you have a special way to stream the data?
Oh, I see. It isn't something I've even thought about. I mean, we are streaming the data optimally. Obviously, there are certain bandwidth limitations, right? But you know, you're not going to get a 10 megahertz IQ stream through certain pipes where you could get a sort of a team viewer session and see the spectrum. So it'll probably be horses for courses. You'll probably have, I would say there's probably different use cases for different scenarios.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
SDR Uno will not be made open source now.
No. I don't blame you.
Well, it'll still be, we'll still have bug fixes. We'll not be adding any features to it, but it'll still be supported. It'll still be supported. So if people have problems with it, we'll still investigate and fix them.
When using an RSP server over the network, does it require a server platform?
Yes. So we have, as part of this package, we have a server application.
Okay.
And again, that will run on all the platforms. So you'll be able to use a Raspberry Pi as a server with a Windows client, or a Windows server with a Mac client. It'll be completely interchangeable. But yeah, there is a server component to process the data and get it across to SDR Connect.
Okay. And Louis has said, any memory scan speed increases in SDR Connect beyond the speed increases in SDR Uno 1.42? And thank you very much for all your hard work.
Well, so I mean, there's some, for those that are interested, and the rest of you will probably fall asleep. But in the SDR Uno, the memory panel, for those of you that use the memory panel, will know that the bigger it gets, the slower it gets. It's a built-in widget that just doesn't work very well. And as you're scanning through that, the bigger the memory panel you're scanning through, the slower the whole thing gets. It was really not very. We sort of used it for what it wasn't really intended to be used for. And so for 1.42, we don't use that widget anymore. And on top of that, we've got a completely different way of scanning the. So before, it would go line by line, each frequency, and it would go, right, frequency, is there a signal? Frequency, is there a signal? And if you've got those frequencies out of order, it would be possibly slower, backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards, particularly if you've got different modes, say. You could have different modes. So what the scanner does now behind the scenes is when you press go, it reorders it internally. So it leaves the memory panel as it is, but it reorders it in frequency order. And it only changes the LO frequency when it has to. So we set a wide spectrum, and then we really quickly sweep through that spectrum for all of the frequencies that are in the memory panel that are in that window. So that 2.5 times that I said, that was an extreme case. That was checking every single frequency on the mil airband. And it was 2.5 times quicker. So, different scenarios, it'll be a lot quicker. That was a worst case. That's the worst case speed difference you'll see. Now, when we go to SDR Connect, we can still use the same algorithm, but we'll have completely different widgets and completely different user interface routines. And so there may be some speed advantage to gain there. I'm not really sure, but we certainly won't be doing what we did before. We're using the built-in widget to as the kind of the basis for the scat for the sweep. We kind of didn't really, we got Mike putting these massive memory panels together of like thousands of frequencies, and I'm like, oh dear, it's broken. So yeah, but anyway, live and learn.
So the next few sort of questions skirt around the same thing, and that is, okay, so if you've got the server, say, in the UK and you're over in the States with an iPad, can you, you're not going to be able to, are you going to be able to run, you can't run the server on the iPad, can you? Because it just hasn't got the capability to do that. Or
we haven't, the iOS platform isn't one that we've looked at for a number of reasons. I looked at iOS years and years ago, and the USB support, I think, was deliberately made difficult. You had to kind of fudge it by using the camera interface, and it was all very, very horrible and nasty. So I kind of gave up, to be honest. Okay. Going forward, whether we'll end up doing an iOS client, I suppose there's an outside chance, we would look at an iOS client. I don't know if we would do an iOS server. That's probably doesn't make a lot of sense, really. No. But if we can look at an iOS client, that might be something that we but I'm not, don't hang me on that. I'm not promising it, but if we are going to look at iOS, that would be the place to go.
Perfect. Okay, and the next question, I'll try and go through them a bit quicker because I know people actually want to ask you in person and have a chat about things. But are you still going to be, the SDR Connect is still going to be supporting OmniRig? Obviously a lot of us amateurs.
Oh, rig control.
Yeah, rig control.
So I think from what I looked at before, what we'll probably end up doing is supporting OmniRig on Windows, and then HamLib on the non-Windows platforms.
Non-Windows.
I think from when I looked at that before, that seemed to be the most sensible thing to do. But obviously, if anyone's got any better ideas, I'm happy to look at them. But that's our current plan.
Right. Okay.
And it will be the official supported version of OmniRig, not the version.
The other one, yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah,
because I've spoken to the author of OmniRig, and what's happened there is not good, no. Not fair, and so we will
not support it.
We will not support it.
No.
Yeah, about this, can I ask just a question?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, you're still supporting on SDR Connect the virtual COM port?
Virtual COM ports like COM0COM and whatnot. BPSE.
I'm not sure what you mean by support.
Yeah, on this SDR Uno, we are using virtual COM port when we are using, for example, Orbitron or something else.
Right. We'll still have the audio output device. You'll still be able to select what audio output device you want to use.
No, not the audio. I'm talking about the COM port to select the to select the correct frequency.
Yeah, sorry, you mean cat control?
Yeah.
Yes. Cat control. Yes, that will still be there. Yeah.
Okay. We've got one from Jeff G1PJR. Jeff is saying, give him a wave, Jeff. Taking on board your comments, RE, reduction of the full spectrum of options in the current SDR Uno. Will the band and mode selection still be presented as a side menu?
Band and mode.
What I was driving at there, Andy, is earlier on you mentioned that you, in the current SDR Uno, you'd basically got everything at the front end, and you wanted to basically, I think what you meant was declutter that.
Yeah.
And I just wondered what would be the device or the new device in SDR Connect, what would be the device for a user to actually select different bands and modes, etc.? Is that going to change?
Yes, so in the VRX controls, of which there still will be a VRX control, they'll be more context sensitive. So if you're in FM, you only see, you know, a narrow band, wide band, stereo. You know, when you're in AM, you don't need to see all that stuff. So they're going to be context sensitive menus that at the moment, what we're looking at, and I don't want, the problem with doing these things and they're being recorded is that they're going to come back and someone's going to come back and say, you said.
Yeah.
We won't hold you to it. We won't hold you to it, Andy.
At the moment, the way it's looking
it's just really to get a foresight into what's likely to be presented.
Context menus that will retract from the main display. So they'll be there. You'll be able to pull them out, make the changes, put them back. But for things that you're going to be using more often, like you might want to raise the base of the spectrum display, or you might want to change the range of the display. All of that you'll do from the display. There'll be no menus to go down into, and you know, at the moment you've got to go into the settings panel of the SP1 or the SP2 display, and you've got to set the base and the range. So all of that kind of stuff will be at the top level on the screen. But some of the stuff that you won't use, once you set it, you won't need to touch it again. That will remove itself from the display until you want to change it.
Okay, thank you. Looking forward to getting a glimpse of the first release.
There's two things that are driving us with the UI, and probably three things: clean, intuitive, and touchscreen.
Yeah.
And so those three are driving our decision making on the UI at the moment. Because you could spend years developing a user interface for this stuff. A lot of what is in Uno was a good idea, but not necessarily implemented in the most optimal way, basically because of kind of the starting point that we had. But so it was a massive learning experience that we've sort of taken forward, and we've said, right, now we're doing this again. We want to kind of keep the functionality, but present it to the user in a different way.
Yeah, basically change the architecture.
It's the UI architecture, but what's nice is a lot of the underlying code can still be reused. So when people say, oh, you're going to be years doing this stuff, we're not, because we've still got a lot of the underlying code. It's just the way it's presented to the user is going to be slightly different.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And thanks for coming on tonight. Very informative.
No problem.
Thank you. Andy, you're going to love this one. This is from Andy Giles, G40JH, who's in Clacton. And Andy's returned to the hobby. That's right, isn't it, Andy? You've returned to the hobby after a number of years? Yeah. So Andy wants to know, as an absolute complete noob, what hardware does he require? Where does he start? So if there's anybody on the platform now that has never, ever had any form of contact with an RSP or SDRPlay, as a complete newbie, other than attending the talk that Mike's giving on the 18th of July, what would you suggest would be a good starting point for him?
Well, if you're going to ask me, I mean, I don't know, maybe somebody else should answer. But if you're going to ask me, my go-to device, which is always handy, is the RSP1A. I mean, it's just got a single. I mean, you can see this whole attachment of stuff I have on the front end here, but it just, you know, if you just want a radio that you can just hook up to an antenna and go anywhere across the 2 gigahertz of spectrum and just listen, just tune in and listen around, then you know, the other two that we sell, the Duo and the DX, there's something specific about them. The Duo is obviously dual tuner, so it has you've got the dual tuner capabilities. I won't go through that in detail here, but you can either use them completely independently, or you can use them for diversity and noise cancelling and all that kind of stuff. And the DX has a special mode below 2 megahertz. So if you have a specific need for those, they are the products you want to be looking at. But if you just want a generic starting receiver, you can just plug in and fire up SDR Uno or other software and just tune around the bands and listen in. That's what I would go for. But other speed may vary.
Andy, just to Andy G4 OJH, what I would suggest you do after the talk is if you look up Mike's details on QRZ and drop him an email, because Mike will be able to support you with getting up and running in a nutshell. So I don't want to put that on you, Andy, because I need to leave you alone. I'm aware of that. That's why you've not heard from me since Hamzilla. I'm leaving you alone so you can crack this out, mate. Okay, so we've got a few more. So will it be possible, this is from Erland, would it be possible to adjust filters separately from the bandwidth?
Adjust filters from the bandwidth.
Thinking about the input to the computer on the SDR receiver itself, not zoomed in spectrum.
They're fixed. No, the filters on the hardware are fixed hardware filters. So
yeah, but I've seen other software let me set the bandwidth and filter bandwidth and sample it separately. So I can see the signal as a little peak in the middle, so to say.
I'm not sure what you mean, but the hardware filter. I'm not sure. The hardware filters there's a lot of them, and they can be selected, but you can't change them. You can't move them.
No, I think you have the sample rate and then you have the filters. I just wonder if you can have a high sample rate and narrow filters.
Do you mean, Erland, do you mean by notching them out?
And if you have some strong signals nearby, and you want to see what leaks past the filters, can you do that?
Yeah, I mean, you can have a 10 megahertz sample rate and set the LO frequency to the edge of where the filter is, and then what you'd see the attenuated spectrum, but you'd still see signals the other side.
Yeah.
In SDR Uno, I haven't been able to set the bandwidth of the filters and the bandwidth of the sampling. So,
I'm not sure what you mean. The pass bands of the filters are a lot wider than the sample rate.
I hope not.
Well, you've got the filter edges. I know there's one at 30 megs, one at 60 megs, one at 120 megs, one at 250 megs, one at 420 megs.
The IR filters.
You're not.
If you
The SP2.
you have the filters before the ADC, and I just wonder if you can set those separately from the sample rate.
No.
I've done it in other software with the RSP receiver. So I just want to know that strong, that big FM station. I don't want to listen to nearby the other one. I just want to see what happens to it when cut it with the filter.
Mike, I think what Erland's referring to is, you know, when you had that evening with us and you was able to bring up the weaker station and notch out the stronger station.
Correct, but there's different filters. Are we talking about the hardware filters? He said before the ADC. So that leads me to believe that it's the hardware filters that are built into the device. Then we have the AF filtering. So are we talking about the filters that are built into the device on the actual hardware, the hardware?
Yeah, those that they cut out the slice from the spectrum that you want to look at.
Right. Okay. So okay, you're talking about the 8 meg, the 7, the 6, the 5, the 1.536, the 2 megs.
Yeah,
Those.
I don't recall the exact list, but yes.
Yes. Okay. With SDR Uno, when you specify the sample rate, it chooses the highest IF bandwidth without that's lower than the sample rate. You can't have the IF bandwidth higher than the sample rate. In other software, if you use HDSDR and the EXDR plugin, you can pick the sample rate and the IF bandwidth independently.
Yeah.
But in SDR Uno, no. SDR Uno is supposed to be a kind of a bit of. It was supposed to be a lot of all that hardware control was supposed to be a bit plug and play. So you set the sample rate and the IF bandwidth is specified for is set for you.
I just want to be able to override it.
Yeah, if you use HDSDR, you'll be able to do that.
Will I be able to override it in SDR Connect?
Not something that we've discussed.
Please.
See, the problem is we're trying to simplify the UI, and now you want to make it more complicated.
I want the technical version of the UI.
I can take that feedback back to the team, but I can't promise you anything. But I'll take the feedback back to the team.
Just have a big box of advanced settings somewhere, please. It would mean a lot to think about.
Like I say, I'll take the feedback back, but I can't. At the moment, I can't say whether it will or not happen.
Also, it would be really interesting to set input filters and see how much they actually block. But then it's kind of advanced.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I ask the next question?
Go.
Yeah, right, okay. SDR Connect. Will SDR Connect support RSP Duo in dual tuner mode for both diversity and as two independent receivers?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. And Ed has asked, I joined the call late, but I think I got the tail end of the information that will not work with the RSP1. Is this correct?
RSP1. Yeah, RSP1A is absolutely fine.
Okay. Martin is asking, any information on approximate bandwidth requirements for remote use? And will that depend on the sampling bandwidth selected?
Yes, it will depend on the sample bandwidth selected. I don't have any numbers, I'm afraid, but we'll be able to kind of go into a lot of detail about that a bit nearer the time.
Yeah. Mr. Mike has joined us late and he's just asked when it'll be released. The aim is for the end of 2020.
So the first build is looking like the end of the year, but we're gonna, as I said before, we're going to be slightly changing the delivery. We're not going to be doing these huge monolithic updates once or twice a year. It'll be a lot more frequent, with a lot. The incremental steps will be smaller, but you'll get releases quicker. So that's how we're going to do it.
There is an interesting question I'd like to know the answers to, and I've kind of had this conversation with you over the past few years, Andy. With the remote SDR Connect, can multiple users, so let's say for example that we decide that we're going to be really generous and get Steve Brightman and we're going to buy him an RSP Duo. So we're going to buy him one and put in his house that would all like to connect to his fantastic tower and all, simultaneously log in. Is it going to have that capability for multi
simultaneous connections, because I do know that locally in Kent there is something going on as a remote station at the airport, which isn't that far from you, that has got a fantastic takeoff. And if they have an RSP Duo up there or a DX up there, and we can have multi-user access, that would be pretty brilliant.
Yeah, I think nearer the release date, I'll be able to give you some information, a lot more information on what the remote capability will be able to do. At the moment, I mean, you saw it obviously working in Dayton and Friedrichshafen. I mean, from my point of view, they were as much as tests as they were demonstrations. And the feedback from Steve and John was that the system was incredibly robust. And when there were disconnections in the network for whatever reason, then when the connection came back, the software just picked up from where it left off and carried on. So that was great from that point of view. I think there's still a lot of work to be done on the remote side of things. So I think the best thing there is when we get nearer to release, we can maybe have another one of these sessions, or I'll do a video or something about how the remote system actually works.
That'll be very good. Yeah, that'll be good. Okay, we've got another question, John M0VRI. Have you considered producing a new SDR box with a built-in Ethernet for the remote use?
I don't do hardware. You're asking the wrong guy.
No. Okay.
Sorry.
That's fair enough.
I got my hands full, I'm afraid.
Many people don't realise that with amateur radio, and they still don't realise, is because they use the DVIs and you know, all the different connectors. It's because HDMI it's a licensing issue with HDMI connectors. People don't realise that, and for the likes of ICOM and Yaesu to purchase a HDMI output license wouldn't be worth their while. That's why they stick with the old formats.
Right.
So yeah, so it could be a similar thing. You know, I'm not saying it is, but I know that HDMI is definitely a licensed.
I mean, all I can tell you is that the guys that are working on hardware are always looking at stuff, but it's not my bag. I've just got my head down in software, and that's all I can say, really.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, so we've got another one from K4VZ. Will the specs for network protocol used by SDR Connect be publicly available so they can be used with like SOAP SDR module instead of SDR Connect client?
No, the whole system is a closed system purely because we're optimizing both ends, and if you start making it unoptimized so it can support this and that, then you start losing some of the benefits of it. So at this moment in time, I mean, the fact that it's split across two different systems is somewhat irrelevant. It's an SDR Connect system from end to end.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that you've got one bit one end and one bit the other end is slightly irrelevant, but it is a
yeah.
Yeah, I just one question about it. Do you will share that with the guy that developed the GNU radio model? I mean, if we are using SDR Connect on one side and we want to use GNU radio on the other side, that will be really great for some reason.
Yeah, no. So okay, maybe I misunderstood the question. There will be a network client in the API. Perfect. So if you use the API, you will get the network connectivity for free.
Okay. At least we have something. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So you use the API at the client end, and you obviously use the server at the other end. You will get this. You will get the same network connectivity that is in SDR Connect.
And it's not completely closed.
No. Okay. It's a closed system, but we do have the public API available for people who want to design their own applications that work with the network interface.
Oh, perfect. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're when the SDR Connect is released, can you still use SDR Uno and SDR Connect on the same PC so that you can interchange between while you're getting a feel for SDR Connect?
Yes.
You still can.
You just have to make sure, obviously, you only use this, use one RSP, you don't use the, once the RSP is in use, it won't be able to be used elsewhere. But yes, the SDR Connect and SDR Uno can coexist on the same machine, yeah.
Right, so call sign IK2JBY has asked, I think it's already been covered. I'm sure it's been covered under the plugins, but has anybody ever thought of inserting or embedding a demodulator of digital modes such as CW, RTTY, etc. in SDRPlay? Is it feasible? I know that the plugin has got a CW.
I was going to say, it sounds like a great idea for a plugin.
Yeah,
They're all plugins already. RTTY, they're all done. Jamp and Catwick
right. Okay.
has all of those.
Meaning the plugin that's running currently on SDR Uno will run on SDR Connect?
I mean, in principle, well, it will probably need a recompile, but we're looking. That's what we're looking at. Yeah, we don't have the specifics, but we're going to try and keep the plugin system as similar as possible.
Okay, out of the box, this is a no, but it's possible.
The same DLL, probably not, but a recompile should be what we're looking at.
Okay. And
I mean, what Mike said there actually is Jan van Katwijk on. If you look at his GitHub repository, he's got a lot of plugins for SDR Uno. I can send you the link after, Andy, if you want to.
Yeah, okay, that'll be great. I can share it then. Diversity reception will still be included for SDR Connect.
Correct.
Great. And Whiskey Oscar 8 USA. Happy 4th of July, by the way. Has said, don't simplify the UI degrading ops.
I mean, this is really difficult, right? Because we get a lot of people saying. We get a lot of people saying SDR Uno is great. We get a lot of people saying it's too complicated. It's all I can say is it's not simplifying. We're not trying to dumb the software down. That's not the purpose. The purpose is to declutter. So we'll still be providing the same functionality, but in a cleaner environment. That's the idea.
Okay. And he's also said, I very much doubt this would ever happen. Please don't go to the software as a service, pay as you play. Like Ham Radio Deluxe, it was available on the market for a long while, and then all of a sudden it's been hit with an annual subscription, etc., etc. So I don't think there's any intention of that.
I've got no visibility of that happening. So
yeah,
I mean when what you buy when you buy an RSP is you get the license to use the API, and SDR Uno is a free download, and that's what's going to happen with SDR Connect. It's the same. SDR Connect is a follow-on. SDR it's essentially replacing SDR Uno, so it'll be available on the same basis.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. How many of you work at SDRPlay?
Well, you'd be able to count us all on two hands, that's for sure. There's less than 10 of us in total.
Right. Okay.
You're still doing a great job and a great support. Thank you, guys.
The support has been very difficult to provide. We always like to give crunch. We always like to give. We look to give the support that we would like to get ourselves, and at times it has proven to be very difficult because digging down into an issue requires a lot of effort, a lot of time. but we still maintain that that's what we do. And so the guys that do that, there's not, it's not just me, it's not just Mike. There's a number of us that share that responsibility, and there's one guy in particular who shoulders the lion's share of that, and it's a totally thankless but a massively rewarding task when we get some really nice messages from people saying, thanks for persevering, you've done a great job, that sort of thing. It goes a long way. It goes a real long way. The support's not nobody likes to do it, but we certainly don't want to see our products in the hands of people that can't use them. That's not good for anybody.
Yeah, I know, Andy. I'm supporting on B2B. I know what you're talking about, but on this particular market and a niche market, which is SDR, I believe you are the best on SDRPlay.
That's good of you to say. But we, like I say, we just try to give the service to other people that we would like to receive ourselves. It's as simple as that.
It is.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Shall we open up the floor now? We can have our chat about it and
sure.
See if any questions.
Yeah, I got one question what was not covered. What about the memories? The memories. The legacy. Can we carry the safe memory we have on the SDR Uno to the Connect, or we have to rewrite all of those?
Oh, you mean the S1B files?
Yes.
Okay. So we haven't quite nailed down what that format. I mean, it's a CSV file, right? So there will be it'll either just directly support it. Probably will just directly support it, and then maybe it will save it back out as maybe an extended format or so. When you in 1.42, for example, SDR Uno 1.42, there's an extra field because each frequency can now have its own threshold value for the scanner.
That's good.
So it will read in older S1B files, and it will write out S1B files with this extra field. Older versions of Uno will still read the file in; they'll just ignore that last field. So, for SDR Connect, we'll probably do a very similar thing, but it may save out extra information, but still read in the older files, as it were.
Okay.
I have a question, please, Andy, Jeff, G1PJR.
Yeah.
Sure. Is it likely that the update availability will be notified via an on-screen notification, as, for example, one gets with Log for Old Man? I only ask that because obviously you don't have an upper bar on the software with, for instance, help, file, etc., where you can drop down, check for updates, etc., and it comes up. I just wondered whether you might be able to incorporate notification within the software to say an update is available if you'd like to download it. Is that something that you've considered?
Yes. So with SDR Uno, that actually works right now. So if you start SDR Uno up and there's a later version on the system, right, a little window will tell you that that you've got a newer version. And if you go to
forgive me because I've not experienced that yet.
Right. Yeah, that's fine. And if you go to the opt menu in the memory panel display, there is a check for updates field in there. And so we'll have a very similar thing in SDR Connect.
Thank you very much.
What we're slightly, I don't know whether we're going to be doing that for 1.42 because it's a difficult one because when you release software that's updating on a regular basis, some people don't want to touch it, right? They'll probably say, I'll let other people use that and I'll come back to it when you're really finished, right? I mean, not that software is ever really finished, but you know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
And so having windows continually pop up to saying, there's yet another version, so we're probably going to have a slightly different system where you can there'll be like a checkbox to say, like an advanced thing. So, notify me of bleeding edge releases sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then you can turn that off and you just get the stable releases.
Right,
So yeah, these are sort of systems that we're sort of thinking about at the moment, but that's probably how it will work.
Okay, thank you. I've gone deaf.
What about what about the teammate and other hardware support?
Yeah, so now the teammate controller is an interesting one. Obviously, SDR Uno fully supports a teammate controller, and so there isn't a reason why we couldn't do that on the Windows version of SDR Connect. I don't know if the SDK for that is available on non-Windows platforms. I'll have to give Franco Elad a ring and ask him, because they make them now. So I'd have to find out if there's a non-Windows API for that. But we'll see. I hope so. I mean, I've got one. It's a really nice. It's an expensive box, right? So there's not many applications that support it. So yeah, that'll be something that needs some investigation.
What about Touch Bar on the Mac? I know they've deprecated it in the newer versions, but do you intend to provide any functionality for it?
I don't know what that is. Is that a hardware device?
Yeah, it's like a little touch-sensitive screen along where the function keys would be that you can display buttons and it's sliders and all sorts of things on. It's touch-sensitive. It's like a little tiny touch screen.
So you can configure it, do different things.
Yeah.
So a little bit like these, you know, the contour shuttle controllers. I don't know if you've seen those. We have you've got like a config panel where you can say this button does this, or So we're going to be supporting the as many of those sort of controls as possible, and that'll have to be one that goes into the mix. We'll have to have a look at. But generally speaking, if you can get it to replicate a function key, or a hotkey, as it were, then I don't see any reason why that shouldn't work.
Thank you very much.
What's that you're showing, Jeff?
That's a picture of a touch bar.
Oh, is that
the touchpad? Yes.
Oh, it runs across the top of the keyboard, the keypad.
Yeah.
It's like the Stream Deck. It's an OLED that's touch sensitive.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anything where you can configure it to do a hotkey will work. So we'll have to. That's probably a good starting point.
Okay. So we've got another one from Frank, HB9FXQ. Opening network services to the internet comes with huge responsibility, pushing out security patches if bad things happen. Have you already considered people will hide the service using VPNs and the MTU size might be very low?
It is fair to say that that providing a network solution there's lots of pros, there's lots of cons, and some people won't use it, right? Because they'll be worried that it creates this kind of link from the outside world directly into their PC. There are ways, I mean, there are devices probably on your network now that already talk to the outside world that you're not really aware of how they do it. And, you know, anybody that's got a Now TV stick plugged into their telly, you know, how does that connect to the outside world and without you doing anything? So there are already a lot of devices that do provide that external functionality. We have started, it's a big deal, right? So we want to make sure that we do things in a secure way. And that's part of our system. Yeah, I mean, people will use VPNs, people may mess around with their routers and do this and that. what we will be providing is a system that will work for, you know, the 90% of people who don't do that. And so I'm not saying it won't work with those other people, but if they're already doing those things, they probably know what they're doing. And maybe that's not a fair assumption to make, but you know what I mean? You know, so yeah, quite how, I mean, at the moment, the way the system works is that the server presents itself on the network, and you open up a port on your router from point A to point B.
Okay.
Right. So that's how it works. So, but we'll have tools and systems such that that people won't have to log into their routers and start doing that themselves. It'll just, you know, it'll do it for you, basically.
Right. Okay.
So, sorry, can I just explore that a bit further? So you'll then have some sort of cloud server that the local connector that's connected to the RSP pings every so often to announce its IP address and who it is, so that the remote end can talk to that server to find out, presumably to talk directly to that device peer-to-peer, or will it go through the server, or do you not know yet?
No. The systems are completely peer-to-peer system. We're not going to be routing any data through any servers, anything like that. Years ago, when we did a system, I was involved in a system with Merrick's called FlexiStream. Probably nobody ever will remember it, but it basically did a very similar thing. The server registered the information on a cloud system, and then the server and the client at the other end looked up that cloud location and said, okay, now I know where to go to get my connection and make the two together. It was a very simple system. It worked. Whether we do that, whether we do something a bit more on the LAN, we're probably going to be doing. There's a thing that the anybody that uses SOAPy Remote will be aware of, is that with SOAPy Remote, the nice thing about that is if you're using it on a LAN, you can just switch on the server and the client will find it. It'll just broadcast. It broadcasts its information, and the client just finds it. So we'll probably use a system like that for the LAN. The WAN side of it, we haven't finalized the details as to how that will work. But again, when we get nearer the release and we start pushing the system out, we'll have all that information available to people.
Sure.
And what, you know, at the end of the day, if people aren't happy about the network connection side of this, you know, must reiterate, SDR Connect will work like SDR Uno with a local RSP. You know, you connect the RSP up via USB, and SDR Connect will still work just as SDR Uno does today.
Thank you.
Any more questions, anybody? No?
It's quite interesting, Andy, how these things sort of come around. I just, as a matter of interest, many years ago, there used to be, and possibly still is, a guy by the name of Kelly Lindman. And he operated a system whereby all over the world, people would apply to open up their radios using his software and his package, and they would open them up to as receive only to various listeners. And via his website, you could join his website and you could then log in to a receiver basically anywhere in the world. And it was an extremely successful system. But for some reason, he stopped doing it. And then he created what he called a virtual network, which was amateur radio for non-licensed persons, that could then simulate amateur radio contacts, and everything was just created. Even the skip, etc., that was there, and the noise was virtual. But certainly his Kelly Lindman's original system, which I did belong to many years ago, was really quite good, because I could tune into a receiver locally in Australia, in America, in Finland, Sweden, all parts of the world, and it was jolly interesting. And of course, at the bottom they had a talkback stream where you could see who else was listening to that particular station. You could have a conversation with them.
Right.
I don't know whether anybody else remembers that, but it just your system sort of rings a bell with that type of system.
It's called Hamsphere.
Pardon?
It's called Hamsphere.
That's right. And before Hamsphere, it was the original system was called something different, I believe, Andy. Sorry, Jonathan. But anyway, that's by the by.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting how all this stuff evolves. There's been a number of network solutions for generic systems for some time. We've been sort of patching the TCP server forever. It kind of works, and then it doesn't work, and then it works and doesn't work. I think we've got enough experience now to know what to provide. It's just getting it in the format that we're happy, and obviously we want systems to just work, right? Because if they don't, then we're just going to be creating more support tickets for ourselves. So, it's in our interest to make this as straightforward as for people as possible. So, we're putting the effort into those systems, and like I said, I don't want to kind of give you information that in a few months' time I say, right, whatever I told you back then, completely forget. I'd rather when we get nearer to when the software's getting ready to be released, we can go through all the network side of stuff and I can explain it better.
Okay, so a question I have, like I've currently got the ICOM RSBA1 software, so therefore my 7610 transceiver has got a built-in server into it, which makes it easier for RSBA1. So I go into, so when I'm running that, I have on the server end, say in here in the shack, I have it where I've got a password protection on there. And then I can add, so say for example, I could add Jerry, Jonathan, Nigel, Daniel, I could add those as a client, and they can then log into my transceiver and take control via the software through a password that I allocate a username and a password. Will the server capability, if it is multi-user and simultaneous, Andy, will you be able? Well, obviously it can't be simultaneous, because otherwise everybody's going to be changing the receiver, aren't they?
You have, I mean, with all of these remote systems, you have to have either rules at the server end that sets up the center frequency and the span, or you have to allow one person to say, right, you can decide where everybody listens to, within a sample rate, within a fixed spectrum.
Are they going to be embedded into the server software? Perhaps not at first, but further down the line. Is there something that you're going to do? Because I can see that people are going to, I mean, I've got my Duo, but I would be happy to go and buy one of the DXs, throw up an aerial, or get it placed somewhere on somebody's tower that is in a good location, and allow the server to run there, and then have 5 clients being able to log in. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, also, it then becomes accessible for schools and things like that.
Yeah, so this is more like kind of what I would guess like a web SDR type feature, right? So where you've got it's like a one-to-many type system.
Yes.
So what SDR Connect is a one-to-one system.
One-to-one. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're looking at further down the line, 1.4.
I mean, further down the line, once we've kind of got the the first system built and released, then we can kind of look at the technology again and say, okay, what can we do here? So that's, you know, certainly a possibility.
Yeah, cool. Okay. No, that's good. That's worth bearing in mind. Okay. Right. I think we're out of questions. Am I right? Is there anybody, if you've got a question, unmute yourself and let's ask the question.
Hi, it's Mike GD6ICR. Can you hear me at the moment?
Yeah, can hear you.
Yeah.
The question is, I'm at the present moment with the RSP1A. I'm using SDR console. Would that conflict with SDR Connect if I wanted to use them side by side?
No, you just no. They would still just use the API. Like I said before, as long as you're only using the one bit of hardware with any application at a time, you'll be able to have both applications coexisting on the same machine.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much.
Well, I think that draws everything to a close, to be quite honest, Andy's times two. I think it was brilliant this evening. Thank you very much. And I have been home for most of it. You'll be pleased to know, Andy. So
cool.
Yeah, great stuff. Really informative. I think what you've described, though, Andy, is brilliant. But I think it doesn't really convey the amount of extra hard work that must have been going on behind the scenes for such a long time, when you consider that there are only 28 hours in every day, and I think hopefully everyone that's watched and everyone that's watching the recording appreciate just how much effort you're all going in to support the hardware that you produce, and it's very commendable. So thank you very much.
Well, I always say this about. A lot of people thank me personally for the stuff that we produce, the software that we produce. But it's there's only a few of us, but it's always a team effort. You can't. I couldn't do this stuff by myself. None of the other guys could do it by themselves. It works because of the way that we work as a team. So every person within SDRPlay, plus others that we have that test software and hardware, and those guys and girls know who they are. It's a great thing to be a part of. It's quite stressful at times, but that's why I kind of like doing these things and going out to the shows. It gets you that bit closer to the people that are actually using the product, and you get fantastic feedback. Like I say, SDR Connect, it's well under development. People will have ideas of how it should look and what it should do and all the rest of it. You can feed them in. I can't say that we'd be able to take them on board, but we'll certainly consider ideas and feedback that people give us. So yeah, I don't know what to say. It's just a great thing to be able to do.
It's brilliant. There have been one or two questions put up as well since I started speaking. What I'll do is I'll download the text file of the questions tomorrow, and I'll pass it to my Andy, as it were, and I'm sure he can pass it to you, and it might give you some insight. Like working with Pandapters and so forth, and see how it goes. But I think we draw a line under it now because the questions are going to keep coming.
Yeah. I think the final thing to say about SDR Connect is people should see this as a continuation of the work that was done in SDR Uno. So SDR Uno will still exist for the people who don't want to move forward, because they've got older operating systems or RSP1s or whatever. But for everybody else, SDR Connect should be seen as a continuation of the SDR Uno development across platforms. So we're looking at adding, ultimately, obviously not from day one, because we're going to be playing catch up to where SDR Uno is, but the idea is that SDR Connect does what SDR Uno does, plus other stuff. So, you know, that's, you know, so if you're wondering about SDR Connect will do something, if SDR Uno does it, then it will.
Brilliant. I think that's a great thing to finish on. Thanks very much, Andy. Pleasure as always. Look forward to the next one, as I'm sure there will be. And absolutely great. And for everyone that's still on, I'll download it tomorrow, and it will be up by lunchtime Wednesday anyway. So it'll be on the Ham Radio Network YouTube channel. The link will go on to our Facebook page. And I know that Andy's passing over to, is it Steve or John? Not sure. Where are you passing it over to, Andy?
Passing what over to, John? Sorry.
The link, the YouTube link to go on the SDRPlay website.
To John.
It's John. I thought it might be.
Yeah.
Okay, can you finish the record?
Yeah, I will do. What I will add just before we stop the recording is that on the 18th of July, we have an evening with Mike, KD2KOG, and Mike will be talking us through any questions specific to the RSPs or SDR Uno and the operation of it. But I just wanted to thank Andy, John, John's left, and Mike and Steve as well, because I know Steve's floating in here. Steve Brightman's floating in here, and enjoy your 4th of July, Mike and Steve, and I'll catch up with you a bit later.
Be well, everyone.
Andy, what's the next Ham Radio event? Ham Radio Network